The Rugby Football Union's policy barring England-qualified players based overseas for national selection has long been defended as a high-performance tool. But viewed through a legal and commercial lens, it increasingly resembles something else. A market-restricting agreement dressed up as sporting governance. At its core, the rule means that if an England-qualified player chooses to ply his trade outside the Premiership, he effectively forfeits his international career. There are rare and exceptional dispensations, but the policy is clear in practice. Sign in France, Japan, or elsewhere, and your path to an England shirt closes at a time when England are enduring one of their poorest Six Nations campaigns in modern memory. Some of their most accomplished players are starring abroad. Jack Willis, widely regarded as one of the finest open-side flankers in world rugby, continues to excel for Toulouse in the top 14. David Ribbans, Carl Sinclair, and Lewis Ludlam are among others playing outside England's domestic system. Tom Willis's move to Bordeaux Beagles effectively ended his international prospects before they could fully resume. This is not merely a sporting debate about access to players. It is a question of competition law, labor market freedom, and long-term commercial logic. What the rule really is, the overseas ban is not simply a selection preference. It is embedded in a commercial agreement. The Men's Professional Game Partnership, MPGP, signed in 2024 between the Rugby Football Union and Premiership Rugby, running through 2032 under the MPGP, England-qualified players are, in practical terms, reserved for the Premiership's 10 clubs. The arrangement aligns the governing body that controls access to England caps with the domestic clubs that employ those players. The incentive of international rugby, financially and reputationally transformative for players, becomes a mechanism to retain talent within a league operating under a salary cap of £6.4 million, significantly below the top 14's approximate £10 million ceiling. Players are not legally prevented from leaving, but they're confronted with a stark choice: maximize club earnings abroad or preserve international eligibility. In labor market terms, that is a powerful distortion. The England jersey, with its match fees, sponsorship uplift, and post-career opportunities, functions as a lever to suppress wage competition from wealthier foreign leagues. The competition law question. The legal critique centers on the Competition Act 1998. Chapter 1 prohibits agreements between undertakings that prevent, restrict, or distort competition within the UK. Chapter 2 prohibits abuse of a dominant market position. The RFU holds an effective monopoly over the England team. There is no alternative provider of England caps. Premiership Rugby represents the primary domestic employers of England-qualified players. Together, critics argue they have constructed a framework that restricts the labor market for those players. Sports law specialist Ben Cisneros of Morgan Sports Law described the rule in April 2024 as prima facie a restraint of trade, an anti-competitive agreement by object and/or effect, and a prima facie abuse of dominant position. Recent European jurisprudence strengthens that argument. In October 2024, the European Court of Justice delivered its judgment in FIFA v BZ, widely dubbed the Diarra case, holding that certain FIFA transfer regulations were anti-competitive by object. In essence, the court found that restrictions limiting player movement did not require proof of actual harm if their structure inherently restricted competition. While rugby operates under its own regulatory framework, the Competition Act applies similar principles domestically. Governing bodies cannot unilaterally structure labor markets without demonstrating necessity and proportionality. Proportionality, the crucial test, even if one accepts that the RFU pursues a legitimate aim: enhanced access to players for training outside World Rugby's Regulation 9 international windows. The overseas ban must pass a proportionality test. First, the objective must be legitimate. Ensuring access to players for preparation has sporting merit. Protecting domestic clubs commercially is more questionable. Second, the measure must be suitable. A blanket exclusion of overseas-based players goes beyond ensuring training access. Negotiated release agreements with foreign clubs could achieve similar outcomes without complete exclusion. Third, it must be necessary. South Africa provides a striking counterexample. The South African national rugby union team have won 3 consecutive Rugby World Cups, selecting players spread across France, England, Japan, and the United Rugby Championship. They operate within standard Regulation 9 windows and yet maintain cohesion and success. Fourth, the rule must be proportionate in the strict sense, excluding a cohort of elite players from international consideration, limiting their earning potential and career development, appears excessive when less restrictive alternatives exist. On each limb, critics argue, the policy struggles. The RFU's defense to be fair. The RFU has credible arguments. Under the MPGP, England coaches enjoy enhanced access to Premiership-based players outside Regulation 9 windows. That facilitates training camps, data, profiling, and tactical preparation. This access is real and valuable. The Rugby Players Association co-signed the MPGP in 2024, indicating institutional consent. Individual players, including Jack Willis, signed overseas contracts with full awareness of the consequences. There's also a legitimate concern about the health of the Premiership. A weakened domestic league could damage development pathways and grassroots participation. These are serious points, but they may not survive strict proportionality analysis. The performance argument, the most compelling counterpoint to the overseas ban, lies in results. South Africa's globalized selection policy has not undermined cohesion. If anything, it has strengthened it. Players bring diverse tactical experiences and competitive intensity from multiple leagues. England, meanwhile, have endured significant struggles in recent Six Nations campaigns. The absence of top-form players competing at the highest levels abroad invites scrutiny. The policy intended to strengthen England may, in practice, be weakening them. The commercial blind spot. The second overlooked dimension is commercial growth. Premiership clubs often frame the top 14 as a rival market, siphoning talent and audience. But that assumes a zero-sum game. In reality, English fans who watch Jack Willis for Toulouse remain rugby consumers. They watch international tournaments, buy England shirts, and attend domestic fixtures. Elite sport audiences are not fixed. Success at international level expands the market. A dominant England team would drive participation, broadcast value, and commercial interest throughout the domestic pyramid. Every Grand Slam or Deep World Cup run fuels grassroots enrollment and Premiership attendances. England's success is not a threat to the Premiership. It is its most powerful commercial engine. Restricting access to the best English talent abroad may protect short-term wage structures, but risks long-term brand erosion. The role of the players. The Rugby Players Association faces a pivotal moment. A collective challenge from 15 or more England-qualified players currently based in the top 14 would shift the legal landscape dramatically. One player's choice to move abroad may be framed as voluntary. 15 players constitute structural exclusion. Litigation, however, is a nuclear option. A courtroom battle would be costly and reputationally damaging. Australia chose a different route. In August 2025, Rugby Australia abolished its overseas selection restrictions, citing sporting and commercial logic rather than legal compulsion. England could do the same. A strategic choice. This debate is not about bending rules. It is about reconsidering them entirely. The current framework ties international eligibility to domestic employment in a way that appears increasingly out of step with global professional sport. Labor markets are mobile. Fans are global. Competitive success depends on maximizing talent, not constraining it. The RFU faces a clear choice: reform proactively and shape the narrative, or wait for a legal challenge that may force change on less favorable terms. The overseas ban was designed to protect English rugby. It may now be inhibiting it. Jack Willis and others continue to perform at elite level abroad. England supporters watch with a mixture of pride and frustration. The rest of the rugby world observes with curiosity. The question is not whether England-qualified players can succeed overseas. They already are. The question is whether English rugby can afford to ignore them. That calculation demands not sentiment, but courage.